Hello, arcade gamers, and welcome back to BiggyD's Arcade. Today we're going to be doing my 30th Chillin' Chat. So we're just going to hang out tonight, probably for about an hour and 15 minutes, and talk home arcades. I do want to say hi to everyone who's made it in the chat so far. I know B-Kongs is going, so there's probably a lot of people watching him that may come into the show later on, but I want to definitely recognize who's already here and has said hello. First chat we got was from Jason M earlier today. Hello, Jason. Good to see you. Glad you made it. He's saying, see you tonight. That was earlier today. Also, Papa Brad, he had also popped in earlier today and said, hit that thumbs up for us. So I appreciate that, Papa Brad. And if you guys haven't hit the thumbs up, definitely do. Carl O, he says, hi, BiggyD in chat. Been playing 2K21 PGA on my ALU. The trackball works. I got the game for under $5. What have you been playing lately? So I've been playing a lot of my ALU, but I don't play it with the @games, games or the coin ops games. I've been playing it with my Wii, really just using it as a screen for my light gun games. And I've been playing a lot of the Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles and the Dark Side Chronicles Resident Evil shooting games. I've gotten very far in those games. It's getting pretty difficult, but I'm really enjoying it. And it feels just like an arcade cabinet that would have light guns with it when you play it in this way. You really can't tell the difference. And the Wii, it's just plug and play. You don't have to do any modding. You don't have to find any ROMs or guns that work with it. It all works. I do recommend the Nyko Perfect Shot, though. That definitely makes it feel better in your hand than the normal Wii remote. Brooklyn Menace has made it. He said, BiggyD. I'd watched his Friday night arcade show. It was really good this week. They're including a lot of @games with their gameplay. They're not going to just do iArcade now. They're also going to be doing a lot of @games. And I've got some @games discussion lined up for the show tonight. And I've got some news on what I'll be doing with my @game stuff here very soon. Jason is in the chat now. He's saying, good evening, folks. Good to see you. And Papa Brad's made it as well. Hello, gamers. So let's get this show started. So we've got, I wouldn't say this is like the biggest week for home arcade, but we do have some pretty big news, some pretty big announcements from Arcade1Up and from @games that I'll be discussing. And I'm going to start with Arcade1Up. And this is involving a collaboration between Arcade1Up and Kith. If you guys don't know who Kith is, it is a clothing line out of New York. They're rather new in compared to like Gucci and Prada and all these other major clothing lines out there that we think of when we think of high-end clothing. They've only been around since 2011. So they're rather new for high-end clothing lines, but they've taken off. They've been pretty popular, really popular with the younger audiences and the younger fashion groups, I guess you could say. And it's really taken off. And it's a very expensive and probably not anything that we're really following or in the know of as far as who Kith is and what they're about. So I did want to kind of discuss that early on with you guys and give you guys just an idea of who Arcade1Up is collaborating with. And this is what their clothing line looks like. So it just kind of gives you an idea of their style and what their clothing line would look like, kind of like Versace, I guess you could say. And nothing that I personally would be too interested in. I wouldn't be paying tons of money for this type of stuff. But there is a large group and a large audience of people out there that do follow this stuff and is very interested in this high-end clothing. And that's something that Arcade1Up is trying to branch out with this. They're trying to grab and catch the attention of a different buyer or prospective buyer or possible buyer with this move. And they've done collaborations in the past. They've done it with Supreme on a Mortal Kombat cabinet. They've done it on a Big Blue cabinet in the past. But this is a little bit bigger. This is going to be promoted a lot more heavily. And I think there's going to be more of what this collaboration is available to us, which is the actual arcade cabinet, which is the final result. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So and how this involves Arcade1Up. So San Diego Comic-Con coming up very soon, guys. July 20th through the 23rd, and this is your annual Comic-Con convention. Movies, comic books, anything related to comics is going to be shown off at this convention. And Arcade1Up kind of got a place at this Comic-Con, not having a booth themselves, but working in collaboration with Kith, which Kith is now in collaboration with Marvel. So it gets kind of confusing. You've got all these different companies all kind of coming together to try to have a place at this Comic-Con and all kind of get a piece of this pie. And this is all going to kind of come together because of first Arcade1Up collaborating with Kith, and then Kith collaborating with Marvel and using the Marvel booth at San Diego Comic-Con. So very, very interesting, but very confusing in that way too, trying to understand it all. So if you're at the Comic-Con in San Diego, the 20th through the 23rd, and you walk into this convention, you're going to see a Marvel booth, kind of like we're seeing in this image. Within this booth, there's going to be an area that they're going to have for the Kith brand, the Kith clothing line. And they're working in partnership with Marvel to create not just clothing, but a Arcade1Up cabinet that they're going to show off at this convention. And this cabinet is going to be based off of a #1 published comic, X-Men comic by Marvel Comics, which was released in 1991. We're looking at the cover of it right here. And this was written by Jim Lee and Chris Claremont, and it was drawn by Jim Lee. So this is a very iconic cover. If you guys go back and you look at all the X-Men comics of the past, this is probably the most coveted of the comic books. This one, I saw some in the range of $5,000 if you guys have this comic. So there's a lot of value behind this. There is a lot of what I would say demand for this artwork. Okay. So Kith, I guess, saw that. He either was a fan of X-Men growing up, or he collected these comics growing up. And that led to him wanting to partner with Arcade1Up and bring this whole thing together and create this cabinet design. And what the cabinet design is going to look like is what we're seeing in this image. This is the only image that we have of this collab with Kith and this X-Men cabinet. Now, there's some things we can see on it. There's a lot that we can't see on it. So I'll first kind of speak about what we're getting with this. So as we can see on the left-hand design, the artwork is going to be this X-Men cover on the left-hand side. It's then going to have the Kith logo up on the marquee. We're going to see an X-Men logo on the left-hand side of the riser with the Kith logo, a Marvel logo, and a X-Men logo on the front. We do see that little small Arcade1Up logo above the monitor. We see that small Arcade1Up logo under the game deck, and we see the molded coin door with the Arcade1Up logo on it. And then we see this kind of like, it looks like a graph design, kind of very faint, not very obvious, but you can kind of see it in there on the coin door area on the kick plate. Also, I believe that same pattern is going to be possibly on the riser. I can't really make it out too well on the riser, but that doesn't look like a solid color on the riser. I think that's going to continue down there as well. It looks like we're also going to get that design on the side of the control panel. I know that was just like a blank area, and people were looking on ways and what they could do with that area on the side of the control panel. It looks like he's used that for that pattern. Now, as far as the PCB and the games lineup, people are going to wonder, what games are we getting with this? My initial thought when I saw this cabinet is we were going to get the X-Men arcade game. It would only make sense. It's got the X-Men on it. It's got the older costumes with the just the X-Men logo. It doesn't have Capcom anywhere on it. It doesn't have X-Men versus Street Fighter anywhere on it. It doesn't say Children of the Atom. So I initially thought that this was going to have the X-Men arcade game on it. It does not. It does not have that game. It has basically just the PCB of the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet. So if you already own Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it's the exact same game lineup on this one. So nothing new there. They are going to do, however, some new additions to some of the game when you first load it up. We get that splash screen or that animation at the very beginning that brings up the Arcade1Up logo. And we'll see characters and there'll be animations there at the very beginning. They are going to do something special there in collaboration with Kith. So that will be new. We haven't seen what that will be or what that's going to look like yet. Also, we are going to, and this is something I'm hopeful of, but we don't have any confirmation on, is I'm hoping that we get some type of upgraded menu system. If we remember on the Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it brings up that we call that diamond plate background, and then it's got the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 logo music in the logo. And I know they can kind of get, the repetition of that loading every time and hearing that music every time can get a little bit old over time. I'm hoping they upgrade the menu. They have a new sound or a new song or no song at all with entirely new graphics for the menu system. I think that would kind of, add some value to this and give some people a reason on why they should purchase this cabinet. But there's a lot that we can't see. There's quite a bit still left to be determined on this and what we're actually getting, because we can't see the right side of the cabinet. So we have no clue what that artwork will be. We have no clue what the artwork will be on the game deck. It could just be that same artwork we had on the previous cabinet. Kind of looks like it may be, but we don't know. We can't see the top of the game deck. And then also we can't see the top of the stool. It looks like it's going to either come with the stool or have the ability to purchase this separately. And we don't know what the top of that looks like. We can only see the Marvel logo on the side. So still a lot to cover on this and what it's going to look like. Now I do know we have Michael B. Kongs as well as console kits are going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. So within our home arcade community, there are going to be people there that cover this stuff that will be able to get close up and give us some more information on this. But I do want to get the audience's reaction and what they think of this cabinet and kind of discuss that some. Papa Brad said, BiggyD is the next big thing in home arcade. I hope I am. I hope this channel continues to grow and you guys continue to enjoy it. I appreciate that, Papa Brad. Andy's Game Room is here. He's saying, evening all. Good to see you, Andy. And Steps Gaming is here. She had a live stream earlier talking about this cabinet. If you guys want to go back and rewatch that, Steps Gaming is really heavy into the fighting game community and arcade fighting games in particular. So she's one that knows a lot about this stuff and probably has a lot of insight and opinions on what we're getting with this. Jason M says, Teenage Mutant Gucci Turtles coming soon. So that's pretty funny. We get a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles X Gucci collab cab. Very well could happen. And Steps Gaming says that stuff, it looks terrible. Clothing, that is, laughing out loud. Maybe you should sell Arcade1Up cabinets to people who like arcades. So she's under the idea of, target your marketing dollars and your marketing efforts towards people who like arcades, not particularly towards clothing, high-end clothing fans or comic book fans, because you're going to get a large audience of comic book fans that just love X-Men at San Diego Comic-Con. Are they going to be a big enough comic book fan or an X-Men fan to just buy this cabinet because they like how much it looks? I'll tell you guys, I really like how this cabinet looks. I collected a lot of X-Men comics growing up. I have a whole collection of them. A lot of them are at my father's house, and I actually started doing a little research prior to this live stream on yesterday and today, kind of looking up old comics and, you know, early 90s Marvel comics, X-Men, and anything, you know, under that Fox license, because Marvel, you know, they're owned by Disney, and Disney acquired Fox Studios recently within the last year or two. And so what that's meaning is that's meaning the X-Men, the old X-Men, the Fox ones, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, all the ones that we remember, as well as Deadpool, as well as Daredevil, and Elektra. There's like all these Fox movies that were made under Marvel, but with the Fox studio. Well, now Marvel, who's owned by Disney, owns all of these licenses again. So there is a Deadpool 3 movie coming out. That Deadpool 3 movie is going to have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in his classic yellow suit, as well as many of the original X-Men from all those movies. And even we're going to get Daredevil and Elektra. So it's very cool that they're bringing all these characters back. Well, the reason I mention that and I say that is what that's doing is that's fueling the value of these older comics, these early 90s Marvel comics like X-Men and Deadpool and these other characters. So I went to go look at this particular cover. I mean, these comics are in the range of $5,000. So they're worth a ton of money. So I got my father on the phone today because all my comics are still at his house back in Texas. I was like, you know, open up those comics. Let's see what we got. Because we were buying these, you know, every weekend back then in 91, 92. So there's a very good chance I own this comic or one of these comics in this time frame. And these could be worth thousands of dollars. Well, that's also what's going to lead people to buy this cabinet. And what makes me interested in buying this cabinet is I'm not particularly interested in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or that PCB, but this cabinet design with this artwork on the side is something I am very interested in. A lot of my cabinets that you see behind me, I don't play a whole lot of. I play, like lately, I've been playing my At Games Legends Ultimate about 90-95% of the time. I don't hardly play these Arcade1Ups, but I still really love them, and I still really cherish them and enjoy them because of what they provide me as far as visually. You know, the lit marquee, the artworks on the side, just the feeling of having that arcade in my home. And that's what this would provide, is that artwork and that feel and that look that I would want. And I'm really happy with how this has turned out so far. I'm very interested to see what it's going to look like as far as the other side, the game deck, the top of the stool, and those other questions we have. But I want to kind of ask you guys, are you interested in this cabinet? Or do you guys think that this artwork is worth going out and getting this cabinet? Or if you never purchased Marvel vs. Capcom the first time or the second time, this is like our third Marvel vs. Capcom cabinet. Is this the one? Is this artwork enough to, you know, make you pull the trigger and make you want to purchase it? Jason M said, I'm personally waiting for a Hot Topic gauntlet, Steps. So we may get a collab with Hot Topic and get our gauntlet cab. Steps Gaming says, agree. X-Men arcade game, like I said, that was like my very first thought is, you know, it's got to have the arcade game on there, but it doesn't. And I thought, well, you know, I'm not going to be interested in this at all without that game on there. But I may be with this artwork. The artwork may be enough for me to want to buy this. And that's how important artwork is, especially on an Arcade1Up cabinet. And, you know, I saw K-Fox's poll. He was running earlier today, and I think like most of the voters said, you know, half of what we're purchasing or what we want in these cabinets are the artwork and the design of the cabinet, not necessarily the game. We're buying everything we see out on the outside. But it also led to some other discussion, and K-Fox kind of highlighted this and spoke about it a little bit. But this is this cover that we're seeing right here is only one of 5 covers for this first issue of 91 X-Men. There were these other 4 as well, which one of them just is basically the same thing as this, with just a different X-Men colored logo at the top. And then we've got these other 3, which has Beast, Storm, we've got Colossus, Rogue, Gambit, Cyclops, and we've got Magneto. So it could be any of these characters on that other side. But I don't think we're getting one of these other issues on the other side. I mean, I don't have any inside information. I have no clue what it's going to look like on the other side. It could just be an exact copy of what's on the left side, on the right side. But if they were to pick a different artwork, it would make sense to think that they would use one of these other covers. Maybe Magneto on the right side, or maybe Colossus. Any of these would look really good. But I think it's just going to be a continuation of this artwork. Because we only see the X and the M, right, on the left side. We don't see the E and the N. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's just going to be a continuation of the same cover on the right side. We'll get Iceman. We'll get to finish off that design of Iceman on the right side. And then maybe we get a small piece of Magneto. I just don't think they could fit in the entire Magneto image in there and make it work. And I'm a graphic designer. I know this stuff pretty well. I think it's just going to probably end right there, what we're seeing here on the other side. Maybe we see those hands of Cyclops, and maybe we see some more claws of Wolverine on that other side. But really, we're just trying to get Iceman in there, and we're trying to finish off the X-Men logo to finish that off. But you guys let me know what you think is happening with that. Papa Brad's Gaming says, I thought X-Men 1 was a very common comic. It probably was. I know in 91, when I was in the comic book store and my father and I were buying these, people were at that point just getting the hint that collecting comics was a thing, and that you could literally buy these comics and you could make, potentially in 20, 30 years, make a bunch of money off of these. So there are a lot of people out there that own these comic books, these ones from the early 90s, like I do. And, but many of them may have gotten rid of them, or they never stored them correctly and they're in really bad shape, or, they never planned on collecting them. They just wanted to read them, whatever the case may be. But the values are way up. I've been checking this weekend. The values are gone. Some of these comics I looked up values on about 5 to 10 years ago. We're talking 3-4 times as much for some of these X-Men Deadpool comics. So the time is now for the value. And I think Arcade1Up is really capitalizing on this opportunity. Same with Kith. I think everyone's kind of really benefiting from this, even Marvel. And I heard Steps mention this earlier. The one company that's probably benefiting the least from all this is Capcom, because they're not getting any representation on the cabinet at all. Who knows if they'll have any presence at Comic-Con. But for the others, Arcade1Up, for Marvel, for Kit, they're all going to really, have a really good deal going here with this. Mike Hawkhurts, he says, I still say the X-Men versus Street Fighter cab has the best artwork to date. I still have that cab in the box, though. And I do like that one. I think that one looks really good. And, with the games lineup, you would think, why are they going with an X-Men comic on the side? I was trying to do a little research before the stream to find out, is Wolverine's costume, the one that's in the 91 comic, is it even in Marvel vs. Capcom or Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or X-Men vs. Street Fighter or X-Men Children of the Atom? I did find that costume in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but that's not on an Arcade1Up. So do we have a costume on the side that doesn't even exist in these games? That could be a possibility. We do know that costume is in X-Men the arcade game. So that really kind of bothered me a little bit that they didn't include that, and that potentially that costume may not even be in those games. Ritual Dello says, those are not big dollar books, Biggie. So Ritual Dello may know more than I do on this because I really just kind of did a little research this weekend on this. But I was seeing like the collection of the 5 going for about $5,000 on eBay. So you'll have to let me know, is it just the one that's not really high dollar, or do you have to have all 5? Or is it just certain people out there trying to get a bunch of money on something that's not really worth it? And Mike Hawkhurt says, I'll take Psylocke and Rogue on the second side. Yeah, that would be really cool, getting those characters on there. I know that Psylocke has a really big role in Marvel superheroes in that game. She's one of the biggest characters in that game. And then Rogue is really big in X-Men versus Street Fighter, one of the most popular characters in that game. So that would really go along with the cabinet in the games. Papa Brad's saying very common on those issues. He's saying, if I remember right, it folded out. So yeah, you're right. There is a fold out on each one that gives you the full picture of them all lined up. Give you a poster. Papa Brad's Gaming says it was a huge reboot from the Uncanny X-Men. And it was a craze. Ritual Dello says, right, Papa, I have a bunch of them. It's super common. So maybe some of these aren't as worth as much as, I was thinking. I have to do some more research on this. Andy's Game Room, he says, I used to collect, sold most of mine when I moved, kept some. Amazing Spider-Man number 4 from 67 is my oldest one. That's a really old one, Andy, 67. That thing's got to be worth a lot. One of my favorites that I remember, and this is unrelated to X-Men or even Marvel, was the Spawn number 1 issue. I have that one. If any of you guys have that one, let me know. It's one of my favorites and one that I knew would be worth some money someday. I think everyone who bought that one knew that that would be a collector. Mike Hawkhurt says, take in mind, Sega doesn't allow Arcade1Up to use their logo on the outside of the cabs. So that is maybe some thought on Capcom not getting to use their logo on this particular design. All my comics are mostly reader condition. And Worst Django, he says X-Men 1, regardless of the cover, is worth about $5. So just one by itself, $5. Ritual Dell said people are gauging that set you can grab for 100 all day raw. Okay, so we've got some people on eBay that are trying to ask like $5,000 for that when it's worth about $100. So maybe those values aren't as high as what I was wanting or hoping. Mike Hawkhurt says, I got into X-Men from the 90s cartoon, and then I started collecting the comics. See, I was a big fan too, Mike Hawkhurt's, of the cartoon. I used to watch that every weekend. And I was an artist. I would draw these characters. And Wolverine was one of my favorites. Cyclops was one of my favorites to draw. And then also Nightcrawler. I really enjoyed drawing Nightcrawler. Papa Brad says, nice, Andy. And Andy's Game Room says, yep, the first appearance of Sandman in that 67 comic by Spider-Man that he was discussing there. Pretty cool, guys. So we've got some comic book fans in the home arcade community, it looks like. I definitely am. It was more of like a childhood thing for me. Didn't really lead into my adult life so much. But it may be something that I get into more as I get older and I start going back and looking at some of these comics, researching them, trying to figure out values of them. Maybe it's something I'll get back into heavily, is collecting comics. But let's get out of Arcade1Up, this X-Men Kith collab. I want to get on to another subject because I saw a lot of people in the chat towards the end of K Fox's and into B's Kong stream. They're like, let's get off of this Kith stuff and this clothing line. It's not really geared towards the home arcade community or what we enjoy or what we're fans of. So let's get off of that subject. Let's get on to something that's more down in what we discuss and in our lane. And that's, home arcade and Arcade1Up and classic arcade games and what may be coming as far as new releases, because new releases are what really fuel, I think, the interest and the views on Home Arcade on YouTube, the Reddit post, and the amount of people viewing Reddit, Facebook groups, everything Home Arcade, I think, is fueled by new releases. I don't think that redoing these old cabinets, redesigning the artwork or re-releasing previous cabinets is going to really fuel interest and hype behind the Home Arcade community and the idea of owning home arcades. I think what fuels that are the new releases, or the big titles that we want to happen, that we feel like we may have a part in making that happen, because we express how much we love these games and how much we want them. And Arcade1Up listens, and then they take that information, they determine which ones they want to make, which ones are going to make the company money. But definitely what we say and what we say in these chats, what we say on Facebook groups and Reddit and all these other places, and I'm not on Discord, but on Discord, fuels what Arcade1Up is going to make in the future. So I wanted to kind of lay out, where are we on the new releases? What can we expect for the rest of this year? And I've done this on previous Chillin' Chats, but that was probably a month or two ago, and things change quickly in Home Arcade. We get new announcements, we get new leaks, new information, things just change. So I want to bring up this calendar here. And this calendar here is just showing the rest of this year. So it's just showing the rest of this month, August, September, October, November, and December. And we already know what our new release for July was. And that was the NBA Jam 30th Deluxe cabinet. So that one, we already know what it looks like. We can already pre-order it. And it's going to release here in a couple of months. In October, I believe, is when they said it'll ship. But it is available now. We know what we're getting. We know what the price is, and we can pre-order it. Okay, so that's our July release. Now, if we remember back at the last time we had a 1UP show, they said that they were going to be releasing something new every month, month and a half. And many people have been saying, well, where's the releases? We haven't been getting everything like they said they would on this time frame. Well, I kind of started breaking it down, and I think we are, and we're still going to get something every month, month and a half till the end of the year. So in August, we already know what that's going to be. That's this Kith collab, which isn't actually a new release. Can we even say this is a new release? Because it's on either of these, NBA Jam or Kith, because they're really just the old PCB with a new look of the cabinet. So it's basically same thing with the new look. So we're getting really two re-releases for July and for August. So now this is where it gets interesting, is when we get into September, which is only less than 2 months away now. We're only about 6 weeks away from September. And that's going to be the Wheel of Fortune Casino-cade. So we got the landing page for the Wheel of Fortune Casino-cade. We got the promotional material. We know the price. We know mostly what we're getting. We've gotten the close-up with CNET. We're really just waiting on it to come out now. And so they're in their final stage now of finalizing the fine print and getting it into retailers. And my prediction was that this is going to be a Best Buy exclusive deluxe cabinet. Now, that was based on, I thought all deluxes were going to be in Best Buys. Well, we saw the NBA Jam just about a week or two ago was not, it is a deluxe, but it's not a Best Buy exclusive. So now this has started getting me thinking, well, maybe Wheel of Fortune Deluxe is not going to be in just Best Buy. Maybe we get this on a QVC or an HSN or a Shop Hippo or direct to consumer. So they're trying to figure out all these other little things, right? That they got to figure out how they're going to distribute this cabinet and what's going to make them money in the long run. But that's all we're waiting on. And that's going to happen. And I think we can pretty much say now that in September, we'll release Wheel of Fortune Casino-cade. So in 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. Let's see what some people have said so far on what's been discussed here on this calendar. Papa Brad Gaming, he says, where is any 80s new release from Arcade1Up? And that's a very good question, right? We had that let's get back to the 80s movement in the home arcade community. And it was really just a few months back, it was like top of the news. I remember Console Kits was really pushing it back to the 80s. And it's like that kind of just died off and we never really heard about it anymore. And I think that's because Arcade1Up is going to focus more on new releases being more modern. And we're going to get into that here towards the end of this calendar I have for 2023. Teddy said, what's up? Good to see you, Teddy. Jason M says, the deluxe legends each year are fine, but this year, not only that, but like a dozen additional rehashes is nothing new. I'll give them Fast and the Furious. That's one. So we've got one, I guess we could say, official new release. It's not a re-release. Sorry, guys, going to get a drink there. I try to limit the drinks on the live stream because I don't like dead air or dead time. And I don't play music in the background of my live streams like some do. So I try to limit that where there's no speaking for as minimal as possible. But I do want to take a drink every once in a while. I want to sit back, chill, and enjoy these live streams the best that I can while still getting you guys this news and this information. Hollywood Polo says, BiggyD's Arcade. Tim, how was your day? What did you have for supper? So he's talking to Tim and in the chat. Jason M is talking about Big Buck coming. Good point. Ritual Dello, Jason M, you have faith. Time Crisis will be a perfect release. Wait for that $2.99 price tag. And Teddy's talking BiggyD's Arcade. I contacted Arcade1Up, and they still won't do the NBA Jam Rewind hack that includes Shaq, breaking backboard, Mortal Kombat guys on the tournament edition. That's a bummer. I remember the Mortal Kombat characters really well in NBA Jam. That was one of the fun things to do in that game. And it's a bummer that we're not getting it on the Arcade1Ups. Especially with their relationship with MK, you would think they would have that one in the bag. Teddy80, he said, what are you drinking on? I'm on some white Hennessy. So I'm drinking some whiskey as well. Southern Comfort tonight. It's not my favorite whiskey, but it was on sale, so I went with this one. And then I'm using Coke Zero to mix it. Pretty good, though. Papa Brad's Gaming says, I love dead air time. It's part of the charm. It's one thing I have to limit, Papa Brad. I watch other streams, and you just hear that dead air for long periods. And if like you're on the go, you're listening on headphones, and you're working out, or you're in the car, you literally think your phone stopped. You got to look at the phone to make sure it's still playing. Carlo says you can put a video on of Miss Kong's in her outfit while you drink. Put on a video of Mrs. Kong's in her outfit while you drink. Papa Brad's Gaming goes, you can have a drink, BiggyD, laughing out loud. All right, so let's get in here to October. So this is when it gets really interesting. And this is where, like, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I'm going to actually go with this full price. I never buy anything full price. If you guys look at all my home arcade products, every single one of them I've gotten at a discount. But this is one that I'm going to pay full price for, and that's going to be Time Crisis. This will be coming out in October. So this will be either you can pre-order it in October or we can purchase it in October. If it's a pre-order in October, that means it's going to deliver in November because they have to get this out before Christmas. 100%, it has to hit your doorstep in November, no questions asked. So, in order to accomplish that, they're going to have to get at least the pre-orders going in October, or just go ahead and release it in October. Don't even wait. Just get it out there as soon as you can. Teddy says, I contacted the NBA, and they said Arcade1Up never mentioned to them about putting the MK players back in Tournament Edition. Interesting. Mike Hawkert says, Coke Zero is the best mixer if you're avoiding sugar. It maintains the taste close to the regular Coke. Yeah, you still get that flavor, but you don't get all the calories. I do like Diet Coke with my whiskey too, but I kind of switch it up. Sometimes I'll do Diet Coke, sometimes I'll do Zero. Carlo says, I had 2 ladies over at the arcade and we ate nachos, Hollywood Polo. So that's pretty cool. You had a good day, it sounds like. And Teddy says, I would think that Shaq sponsored the game. They should have had him in Tournament Edition and Hang Time. That would make sense, right? So Time Crisis, October. Hopefully it's not $800. We're getting Time Crisis 1. We are not getting Time Crisis 2, however. And then we're going to get Point Blank as well as Steel Gunner 1 and 2. Now, November is a re-release, but it is a deluxe re-release. This is Big Buck Hunter Pro Deluxe. Like I've mentioned before, I'm hoping it's a taller design, maybe an XL. They didn't specify XL, so it's not looking that way. But I'm hoping we get at least a taller design because I remember how low that screen was on the Big Buck Pro previously. I think they have to get it into a taller cabinet design. Now, will it be any bigger? I don't know. It doesn't sound like it. Mike Hawkert says that Miss Pac-Man Deluxe is basically just a reskin of the 1981. And I do think it does have a different games list, though, on the Miss Pac-Man. You're getting 2 other games that you would not get on the Class of 81 on the Miss Pac-Man. And it's Dragon Buster, I believe, and King of Balloon. And the reason I know that is I've got the Miss Pac-Man, the black one here, and it's going to have this PCB, 14-in-1 PCB in the Miss Pac-Man Deluxe. And I guess that Miss Pac-Man Deluxe is right around the corner. I guess I'm out of the loop on this, or maybe I'm just not super interested in this cabinet, but it may be coming out here soon. I haven't talked about it. But if it is coming, I'll get into discussion on Miss Pac-Man. If you guys want to talk about that cabinet, I'll definitely spend the time researching, creating the slides, and discussing it if we're getting that one here soon. Now, December. You guys aren't going to see a game there, and you're not going to see a cabinet release there. And I'm going to get into that discussion here in just a second. This is something that I'm really excited about is what's going to happen in December. But what I'm even more excited about is this super chat from Papa Brad's Gaming of $5. BiggyD is the next big thing in home arcade. Thank you for being legit. Congratulations on being monetized. You made it. December needs to be Qbert. And you brought up a great point, Papa Brad. Qbert was on my radar and on my predictions coming into this month, last month in June and in May. I even did a lot of predictions on Qbert coming out this year. But I feel like that's died down some, the discussion on that has died down. I don't think we're going to get an Arcade1Up Qbert cab anytime soon. When I say anytime soon, not in the next 6 months. That would be like a 2024 release if Arcade1Up does do Qbert. But it is one that they're going to do. It is one that they have a license for. I just don't think we're going to get it this year. We just don't have enough time left. And there hasn't been those leaks or those hints and that information we get through Arcade1Up or through other major content creators that kind of lead into these releases. We're not getting that with Qbert right now. It's kind of like dead silence on Qbert. So unfortunately, I just don't think we're going to get it. Also, Papa Brad said, I want a Miss Pac-Man Deluxe, but can I wait for a deal on that one? We're getting deals on the other deluxe cabinets. We've seen, $50 off. We're going to see more deals on those, especially around Black Friday on any of those Class of 81 Deluxe, the Miss Pac-Man Deluxe when it comes out, as well as the Pac-Man, the yellow. Those will all be discounted, probably even the Mortal Kombat 2. So let's get into this last prediction I have here for new releases in December. So December, by that point, they've kind of already released everything that they're going to release for the year by November. So we're not actually going to get a new cabinet in December. What we're going to get is their new information on their new chipset, their new PCB. So we heard Travis MCP, he kind of hinted on this and kind of discussed it a little bit, kind of giving us a little bit of information on this. But they have sourced a new PCB, a new chipset that they're going to be using starting next year in 2024. I think in December, they're going to do like a one update or a one up show, and they're going to kind of give us more information and give us the official, information on this new chipset. Kind of like what AtGames is doing with their 4K right now. They kind of want to give us something to talk about, something to show on the 4K stuff leading up to its release. Arcade1Up's going to want to do that with their chipset in December, leading into 2024, when that's actually going to go into their new cabinets starting next year. So this new chipset's really going to change up everything. It's going to change up what we know about Arcade1Up and what we expect from them. We expect that they have only certain games that can run on their chipsets, only certain games that will play well on those PCBs. That will no longer be an issue. We're going to be able to pretty much play anything we want from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, maybe even 2010s on this PCB, this new one that they're going to be releasing next year. So very cool. That's my where are the new releases for the rest of this year in 2023. NBA Jam, Kith, Wheel of Fortune, Time Crisis, Big Buck Pro Deluxe, PCB, new PCB. Whether this new PCB will be able to be capable of 4K, yet to be determined. But it sounds like it's very, very close in line with what the 4KP chipset is that AtGames has sourced. Going to be on that same level of capability is what we're told. So what I want to move on to next, guys, is we're going to get out of Arcade1Up. And we're going to start now discussing, because everything that is going on with Arcade1Up is all going to be at San Diego Comic-Con here, the 20th through the 23rd. Okay. That's kind of like their spot or their place right now where they're going to be seen is at San Diego Comic-Con. Arcade1Up is not going to be at any other conventions that I know of or major conventions anytime soon. But there are other home arcade companies that are going to be at some other conventions. And one of those is going to be Cleveland Gaming Classic. There are many people within the home arcade community that are going to be in Cleveland for this event, as well as AtGames, as well as we've heard New Wave Toys. We were hoping that iArcade was going to be there, but unfortunately with iArcade going out of business, they're not going to have any representation there. They're not a company anymore. So there was a company that kind of slid into that spot, it looks like, and that's going to be New Wave Toys. So I'm really excited about that. I have not discussed much on New Wave Toys. I actually have never even owned one, but it is something that I'm going to start being interested in, and I'll probably be getting my first one here very soon because it is something that I want to get into. We did have a couple of chats here before we get into this Cleveland Gaming discussion that I want to bring up here on the screen. Papa Brad's Gaming says the poor orange 80s arcade icon is hopping mad. Cubert is so neglected. I updated my New Wave Toys Cubert. It was easy. New Wave Toys Replicades are awesome. And Cubert want to go 3/4 size though. He wants the 3/4 size. He didn't want the mini ones. Jason's talking about the free Cubert movement. And Papa Brad's Gaming says the AtGames chipset is very good, according to Carl O, and I trust him completely. And Teddy80 says AtGames play Hang Time on its cabinet. I do have Hang Time on my AtGames Legends Ultimate, and I'll tell you, Teddy, it doesn't play as good as it does on the Arcade1Up. That Arcade1Up version of NBA Jam, it was optimized for that PCB, and it plays really good. It looks really good. Unfortunately, the CoinOps version of NBA Jam is nothing close to what we're getting on the Arcade1Up. He also asked, can AtGames play Hang Time? It can play Hang Time, but again, it's not going to be as good as what we're getting on the Arcade1Ups. So with this Cleveland Gaming Classic or convention, I did say that At Games is going to be there. So if you go to the Cleveland Gaming Classic website, you're going to see this on their page. Play a new way and bring it home, presented by At Games. So they're going to have a presentation there. Their presentation is likely going to be their new At Games Legends Ultimate 4KP, as well as the Legends Pinball 4KP. We'll probably see both of those there, or maybe just the pinball, but we're going to see at least one 4K product there, and that's going to be for sure at least the pinball, hopefully both. So this is something I'm really pumped for. I want to see this thing up close. I want to get content for the channel. I want to get like a mini review in on these for anyone watching that may be interested in pre-ordering, because we're going to see this thing before the pre-orders are available. Carlos says At Games uses rock chips and they are the best. A1Up mainly uses an OWL winners. I'd put rock chips up against the PIs any day. And Papa Brad's Gaming says Blitz 2000 and NBA Showtime arcade is good. I played it on a B arcade. Ritual Dello rock chip is indestructible too. Jason M says if people want to see games like Daytona, House of the Dead, the new chipset has to run Sega Model 2, and I think it will. That's the whole reason we're getting into this higher end chipset, is to play these types of games, make sure that they play well, and that I think we'll be able to run those games. And then he's asking, what is the BR.Cade? And I also had that same question, Teddy, so thanks for bringing that up. But this is an image of the Legends Pinball 4KP. If you guys are not subscribed to Wagner's Tech Talk, he does a lot of At Games content. And he, I guess, has gotten his hands on the first image of the At Games Legends Pinball 4KP. And this is just a render. You can easily tell it's just a render. This is an actual photo of it. Unfortunately, it wasn't zoomed in very well, so we can't get a close-up even of the render. But we can see the artwork on the side. I'm a little disappointed that they're going with the same artwork. I was hoping that they were going to go with one piece of artwork, or maybe just make it black and let us put what we want on it. But they're going with that same, where it's kind of like a collage of all the different pinball tables that they have licensing for. Little disappointed in that, but not a deal breaker for me by any means. It does have a huge back glass, though. We can see there, that thing is massive. That's going to look so good. And then we got the DMD screen. We learned, if you guys watched live stream last week, I had a guest, P-Dub's Arcade Loft, on, and he confirmed for us that that DMD is going to come with it. We are not paying extra, or that's not an add-on. It's going to be included. So we're getting a total of 3 screens: the main playfield, the back glass, and the third DMD screen. And we're seeing it there. So other than that, not really much else to see in this image, but it is nice to see an actual render of it rather than what we were seeing before, which was not really even a render. It was just the Legends Pinball with some extra writing and information on that. This is an actual render of the new 4KP. So we'll be getting more information here leading into September. We're going to see this thing hands-on at the convention and be able to play it. Now, there's another company as well that's going to be at the Cleveland Gaming Classic. It's not just At Games that we're going to be interested in, but we're also going to be interested in New Wave Toys. Jason M says it's including Dr. Seuss, Hollywood Polo. The ALP is finally what it should have been when it first launched, but the price will be too much for many. And it is going to be expensive, guys. It's going to be $15.99. We had Michael B confirm it for us on Super Game Room Dudes on Friday. This thing is $1,599. Now, we get a better deal directly through At Games when this thing releases? There is some speculation. Even Michael B says we may be able to save $100 or $200 if we pre-order. Maybe they'll run some type of special when it first release. But MSRP will be $1,599, $1,600. That's a ton of money. I'll be financing this thing for sure, and I'll be looking for financing options. Where can I get 0%? Hopefully, AtGames has some partnership with the financing provider that we can get 0% and we can get some like enticing, financing options. That way we can get this in more homes starting out, because $1,600, that's a lot to spend, especially for the home arcade community, where we're used to $500-$600 cabinets. This is going to be 3 times that. Is it worth it? I definitely think it is. Still a lot of money. But as I'd said, New Wave Toys is going to be there. This is the second home arcade brand or company that we follow in this community that will be there. So Micro Arcade Experience, this is their advertisement on Instagram for it. It says, "We are thrilled to announce that New Wave Toys will bring the most unique arcade experience you won't see anywhere else to the Cleveland Gaming Classic." Sorry guys, I keep wanting to say convention, and it's like a tongue tie. CGC is not Cleveland Gaming Convention, Cleveland Gaming Classic 2023. That's right. We are building the first micro arcade featuring the Replicate arcade machines, all free to play at the Cleveland Gaming Classic. So we'll be able to play and see these micro arcade machines. They got a whole line of them that we'll be able to see and play. But here's the really big thing that I found interesting. Plus, in all capital letters, they are bringing something we can't even tell you about yet, revealing it first at the Cleveland Gaming Classic 2023. So we already know about Ghosts and Goblins. We already know about Ghouls and Ghosts. So this is going to be something new entirely. Some people have speculated Zoltar may be shown there, but we already know about Zoltar. They're saying they're revealing it for first time here. I don't think it's that. I think, and this is more hopeful wishing, but I would like to see them get into the 3/4 scale business, similar to Arcade1Up, and compete with them on a more authentic, more realistic, fine details, home arcade, 3/4 version of one of their arcades. Maybe just start out with one and see how that goes and go from there. Don't go all in and do all your cabinets. Just pick one, like your most popular one, or which one sold the best. Make it in a 3/4 scale size. Make it as authentic as possible. Do all the little things that New Waves does. The fine little details that we look for to try to match it up with a real arcade. I think that would be a big winner. Now, could they do it in the price range that we're expecting or we hope for? That would get tricky. Quality comes with a higher price tag. But they could sell these things for $1,000. People would buy them. We've been talking about in the chat tonight, Qbert. Where's Qbert? New Wave Toys could do that. That would be their specialty. That would be where they could really hit a home run, is they could do what Arcade1Up doesn't. And that's where their spot would be in, their place would be in the home arcade community, would be filling in the gaps and filling in those small holes where those classic arcade games that Arcade1Up doesn't want to make, they could do and capitalize on that. And we'll see, if that's, all speculation right now, all hopeful wishing, but I would like to see them get into the 3/4 scale. I've never actually got into New Wave Toys because I didn't think I would be really in the market for a miniature arcade. But the more and more content creators I see that are buying these and doing content on them and really enjoying them outside of that, just like having them in their home, like the look of them on their shelf, I'm starting to feel that, and I'm starting to relate with that. And it's making me want to go out and get one of these. They're expensive though. I mean, they're $150, $200. I paid Killer Instinct $150. You guys see what I got for that. I'd be just getting a little miniature micro arcade machine for that price. But it may be worth it. And I'm going to be getting one. It's just a matter of time. And I'm looking forward to covering it and getting more and building a collection of these. Carlo says, I've talked to actual AtGames employee And $15.99 was the number he said, but that was months ago. Okay, so Michael B said that on Friday. He is using old information. He's using that same information from months ago. So you may be on to something, Carl. And one good thing about Carl, guys, you see him in the chat. He's like our home arcade expert on At Games. You see these major content creators, 30,000 subscribers like Michael B. I can tell you guys with confidence, I feel like Carl O has more inside information on some of this At Games stuff than even Michael B does. So if you guys see him in the chat, you see him discussing At Games, definitely listen, definitely read those comments because it's really good information. Jason M says they are going to support 3 models of pinball machines. So 3 different pinballs. And Cyan Spirits, he says most consumers will laugh at that price of $15.99. It's super high. Papa Brad's Gaming says, I hope that we can get prices down to get more people buying the new arcade machines. You know, we got those $2.99 ones at Walmart. That brings a lot of people into the home arcade. A lot of people that typically wouldn't buy them are impulse buyers and they buy those. Then they end up buying more of them and it just grows the whole home arcade community and the business of home arcade and allows other companies to get into this business and grow their companies. So all good. You know, lower price tags are good. Higher price tags are never good, but there is good that comes from the higher price tag, and that's better quality parts, we hope, and a better, more advanced, more modern experience, we hope. Jason says if they do $14.99, they have to keep mid-tier, and they already have a low tier. 3 pinballs is too much to keep up with. And Teddy says, to all, what is the fascination with pinball machines? Nothing against them. I played them, but I've just never really got into them. And the virtual pinball, it's, you know, when you go into an arcade, right? You go into a real arcade, there's always going to be pinballs there typically. So it just kind of goes with the arcade. So even if you're not a huge pinball fan, but you like arcades or you like building a home arcade, you might buy a pinball just for the look of it to give you that, you know, full arcade feel. Or you may like playing pinball, you know, the real expensive $10,000 pinball machines. You can't afford one. Well, you can buy a virtual pinball machine to kind of give you that experience, kind of give you that feeling at home for a lot lower cost and a lot less, you know, as far as the price tag goes. It's not the same as a real pinball machine, but close and kind of gives you that feeling. Mike Hawkhurt says, I'm setting up a mini arcade display with stools, carpet, posters, UV lights, and action figures. I think that's really cool, Mike. I've been seeing a lot of that. So I joined, I had watched Glenn's retro show. He had given away a New Wave Toys, Dragon's Lair, or no, it was a Space Ace. I apologize. Let me correct myself. It was a Space Ace. And it was signed by the creator. And this would have been, you know, a nice prize to win. And they'd given it away, but the only way you would have an opportunity to win this would be to join the New Wave Toys Facebook group, which was ran by Glenn. Well, I don't own a New Wave Toys, but I joined the Facebook group because I wanted to have a chance at winning. Well, ever since I've joined that group, a lot of people have been posting their home arcades of their New Wave Toys, and they're doing exactly what you're discussing here, Mike, where they're creating like an entire little room, miniature room, with the carpet and the stools and the posters and the Coke machines and the trash cans and everything you would see in a real arcade. And it's very cool. And you take the image of it and you make the image look just perfect. And you kind of have to look twice at it. You know, you kind of have to really squint your eyes sometimes to make out that these are miniature arcades. Because in the image, it actually, you can do it so well and make it look so real that you think you're looking at a picture of a real arcade, when in fact, it's just this little miniature arcade in your home. So very cool, something I'm very interested in and something I'm really looking forward to getting into and, you know, sharing this experience in the, you know, this fun together. Papa Brad's, he's talking about, I love my gold iArcade, but I feel it failed mainly because of the price. It was supposed to sell for $1,000. and they went for about $800. So you're right, get that price tag down as much as we can. And that's something At Games is going to have to focus on. And that's something if New Wave Toys gets into this bigger, 3/4 scale size arcades that they're going to be battling with is inflation, the price of parts, the cost of parts, but still trying to get that price tag down low enough for us as a consumer to be interested. And that's something Glenn does really well with his products. I wanted to mention is he tries to get those price tags down on his products as well. But here's just an image here. We're talking, here Mike was talking about, building these little miniature arcades in your home, making them look like a real little arcade. And then this is a promotional picture from New Wave Toys website where they've done it with the carpet, the brick background, and you've got the change machines. You've got all these different choices to build this little arcade with. But you got to think each one of these is like $100, $150. It's pretty expensive once you finally get this thing built and you're happy with it. It's a lot of money spent. But then I started thinking, we just discussed Q*bert. Why don't we get New Wave Toys to do what Arcade1Up is not doing? Does Arcade1Up own the 3/4 scale license on Q*bert? Like if Q*bert was to be done by New Wave and they wanted to do it bigger and better, could they do it? Would Arcade1Up stop them from doing it? They're not going to make it, but would they stop New Wave Toys from doing it? It's a possibility. They would be trying to then be their competition, so they would want to prevent that. But I think that New Wave Toys could do it well. They could do a really good replica, like an actual playable replica of a real Q*bert cab. And they would make it probably better than Arcade1Up could ever do it. Papa Brad's Gaming says, does the trackball work well on the NWT Centipede? So he's got a question on that. And he also says Q*bert would be a great niche title if they went that way. And it would. This would be their niche, these classic 80s games. It looks like that's something Arcade1Up is moving away from. And it's a hole or a place that they could fill in our, what we buy and what we purchase. So I want to get in, kind of close out the stream here, guys, is my closing thoughts. So I always finish out these streams with closing thoughts. This isn't news related to home arcade. This is just personal things going on in my gaming life or my home life, home arcade life. And what I wanted to first discuss was this At Games Legends Gamer Pro. So this thing goes for like $200. If you want to try to buy it brand new online, there's not a whole lot of them available right now. There's not a whole lot of retailers that have these in stock. They're actually pretty hard to find, but it is something that I wanted to get. And the reason I wanted to get it is I was watching Brooklyn Menace's Friday Night Arcade Show, and I had mentioned how they're getting out of iArcade, not just doing iArcade solely, but also doing some At Games content. And they were trying to find a way to stream their At Games games because it's very difficult to do that. And they had figured out a way. They had said, well, we'll purchase these Gamer Pros. They have a smaller one called a Gamer Mini, which is about half the size of this without a trackball. You could go with either one. And it comes with this Legends puck. And basically, it's got an HDMI input on it. And it allows you to capture gameplay very easily. Also, what's really cool about the Gamer Pro, reason I was more interested in it than the Mini, even though it was double the cost, was that I had to have a trackball. I love the trackball games on the At Games. But also I like the 8-button layout because I want to play more modern games on my Legends. So it's going to be like the new fighting games with my PC. So I'm going to need that 8-button layout. Also, another thing that I like about this is I like that it can fit into the ALU. It's the same exact size as the ALU game deck. So I can literally take that out and put this in, and it's that simple. So I started searching. I didn't want to pay $200, and I didn't want to go through some unlegit retailer I've never used before. So I started searching Facebook Marketplace, and I had come across this ad right here. The guy still had the box. The game deck looked like it was still like brand new in perfect condition, had a picture of the puck. And so I messaged him about it. And I said, would you take $50? He was asking $100, which I thought was reasonable. But I asked, would you take 50? And he responded, he'll take 60. So I said, I'll do it. It said it was in Mesa, which is about an hour on the other side of town. And then we start getting into details on where we were going to meet up. And he's like, well, I'm in Queen Creek, which is even farther. That's another half hour east of me. So it was going to be about an hour and a half drive. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to spend the gas and the time coming to get it. I'm out. And then he offered one other option, one other solution. He said, I work in Tempe. Would you meet me during lunch or during the day while I'm at work in Tempe? And I said, absolutely, I would. I work in Tempe also. So I'm going to meet him. He works right across the street from me, luckily. Meet him during lunch, hand him the $60. He's going to hand me the Gamer Pro in the box with the puck, everything. I'm ready to go for $60, which is just amazing. And something I'm going to be doing, guys, is I'm going to be doing a lot of gameplay, live streaming. Early on in my channel, I would do a lot of that, and I haven't been doing much of it lately. Something I want to get back into. And that's why I had purchased this, is because I want to do some at-game streaming. And with the new 4K products coming out, the demand for at-games related content is just going to grow and grow by the day. So I want to capitalize on that as a channel, and I want to do gameplay live streams and share that with you guys. So look for that coming up here very soon. Maybe a review on this thing as well as the live streaming. Papa Brad's Gaming says, I've learned pinball by going to the arcades and arcade expos. Mike Hawkhurt says, my mini arcade also includes the Astro City Mini with a stand, custom stands for the MVS Mini, Taito Egret Mini, and several My Arcades on stands, which surprisingly look similar to the Replicades. Very cool. Papa Brad says a virtual pinball course. Mike Hawkhurt says, I'd like to get a 1/6 scale pinball table and then multiply that. Yeah, we haven't seen those miniature pinballs. That's definitely coming, I would think. Teddy says, multiply that by 6 and you would get the whole thing, laughing out loud, unless you wanted more of that. And Ritual Dello says, BiggyD, buy the Core Max and pair that with the Gamer Pro. I've heard that from a couple of people already, Ritual, and that's something I'm going to be looking into, is this Core Max. So you get the puck with this, but it's just like the regular core. It's not what's called the Core Max, which has, I guess, more RAM. It's more processing power, just a better chip in that one. So I'm going to be looking for this Core Max to pair with it, just to be able to play higher end games and have a better experience for everyone that's watching. Carlos says, nice pickup, BiggyD. I put mine in my ALU while I waited for my CRT board to show up. Very cool. I'm happy to see Carl O has got one, and I'm looking forward to him watching my experience with this thing and helping me with it. Mike Hawkhurt says, I'd like to get a row of 10 different mini pinball tables. I don't have the space for the real thing. And Jason M says, did you have to replace your shoes after they burned the toast on the pavement? It is so hot, guys. He's talking about in Phoenix. So it was about 114 yesterday. We were supposed to have a high of 119 today, which was going to be like a record for us today, a daily record at least. And we got lucky. It only got up to 112 today. So it was actually very pleasant. We were predicted 119, which would have been terrible. We only got up to a 111, 112. So we got rather lucky. And looks like the rest of the week we won't be getting to that almost 120 mark where things are melting. But yesterday it was 114, and I have like some rubber pieces on my car doors. And I went to go open my car door yesterday. It was even in the shade under a tree. And when I went to go, there's melted rubber on my finger from that. So there are literally pieces of my car that were melting off yesterday. Incredible how hot it is here. And that's also I don't know if you guys can tell tonight, my voice is maybe not quite as clear as it normally is. a little bit of like not a sore throat, but like a raspiness in my voice and my throat the last couple of days because my AC runs 24/7 right now. And, you know, you have to run it all day long to keep it cool because it's so hot out. Even at night, it doesn't even get below 90 degrees at night right now. So I've been dealing with the AC blowing in my face, and I think that's having an impact on my voice and the clearness of my throat and my voice. Sorry about that, guys. But otherwise, I feel fine. Even if I'm not 100%, I'm going to be like Michael B. I'm going to jump on these live streams no matter what. I'll cough through the entire live stream if I have to. I'm still going to try and be here every week no matter what. I'm going to go with that same determination that Michael B. does, and I'm going to work through it because the show must go on. But this is another thing I wanted to discuss, guys. And that's going to be the Game On Expo. If you guys watched my interview last week with P-Dub's Arcade Loft, it went very well. Actually, one of my highest viewed live streams ever. Almost 1,000 views on an hour and a half long live stream is like 800, 850. So I got a lot of exposure by having him on as a guest. Many people probably watched that live stream and watched us to discuss Game On Expo. But this is like the big expo or the big convention for the Phoenix area. It's like the one big gaming convention we have for this area. And it's coming up August 11th through the 13th. I'm going to be joining P-Dub's Arcade Loft. We're going to go together and have a good time at this event. And also we're inviting anyone else out there in the community that lives in the Phoenix area to join us as well. Let's meet up. Let's get together. Let's get some pictures. Let's get some videos. And let's share our gaming in Phoenix with the rest of the country. So if you guys are watching this, you know, use my contact form. I'm not very good about checking those emails. I apologize, guys. But before this event comes up, I'm going to be going through those, reading through them all and trying to determine who wants to go to this expo. Also determining, you know, who wants to just meet up at local arcades. Another thing I want to mention is next weekend, I don't have a slide for this, but next weekend in Surprise, I'm going to be meeting up with Headshake TV. You guys know him from the chats. It sounds like P-Dubs may also come out to Surprise that day, but next weekend we're going to go meet up at Ready Player One, or I keep saying Ready Player One because that's like the movie Ready Player One, but it's actually called Player One Arcade. No Ready. Just Player One Arcade. It's in Surprise, Arizona. It's a bar. They're going to have alcohol there. And we're just going to have a good time. And we're going to play classic arcade games. We're going to play Stern pinball tables and just hang out. Have a good time. Game On Expo. We're going to be doing that as well. And then we're also the biggest event this year. If you guys are going to be at Cleveland, definitely make it to the Cleveland Gaming Classic. So that is in September. That's going to be like the biggest event is that. But we've got two coming up before Cleveland. It's going to be the next weekend, Player One and Surprise, Arizona, August 11th through the 13th in Phoenix, Arizona, Game On Expo. September, Cleveland Gaming Classic, the entire nation, the entire home arcade community. So a lot of really fun community events, ways to meet people in the community, ways to make new friends, all kinds of opportunities coming up. So really cool, really good stuff. I also heard a lot of like the major content creators. We have like the Illuminati group, which is Console Kids, K-Fox, Michael B, P-Dubs, maybe even Nostalgia will be there. Maybe Carl will be there. Detroit Love, who knows? But they're going to be there at Cleveland Gaming Classic as well. And they're doing the same thing. They're inviting everyone. So I think it's going to be huge over these next couple months as far as community events and opportunities to meet and get together. Now the last slide, the last thing I have to discuss tonight on this stream is my 1,000 subscriber giveaway. And this is one thing that I have not been promoting very well, this is one thing I have not been doing great, is that's promoting this 1,000 giveaway. Because this is what's going to help me get over that 1,000 subscriber mark, is to promote this, because I'm doing it. I might as well get my bang for my buck and let people know it's actually happening. But I'm going to be purchasing a countercade, an Arcade1Up 2-player countercade with my own money. They're about $160 right now on sale. Hopefully they stay that way, because I'm still not at 1,000. And I had hoped maybe I could like purchase it this last week during Prime Week for $160, and then I could show it off to you guys in these live streams. It would help me promote it because I could physically show it to you guys. But I realized with shipping costs, like let's say if someone in Florida wins, it's going to cost me $80 to ship this thing out there. I did the measurements and the weight and everything. So it's more beneficial, even if it goes back up to full price, for me to wait until I hit 1,000, do the actual drawing, the giveaway, determine who the winner is, and then when that winner is determined, let you guys pick which 2-player countercade you want. So do you want NBA Jam? Do you want Mortal Kombat 2? There is also a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a Marvel Superheroes. Those look like they're unavailable. That could change between now and the giveaway, and if it does, maybe those are available. But I'd be willing to buy whichever one you want of the 4, if they're available. Okay, so I'll let you guys determine which one you want if you win, and I'm going to ship it to you directly from the retailer. So if I buy it at Best Buy, it'll go directly from Best Buy to your address. So definitely, I'm sure most everyone who's in the chat is already subscribed, because you have to be in order to chat. But if you guys have friends or family members, anyone, let them know about me. Tell them I'm giving away this countercade. You're probably going to have a pretty good chance at winning it. You know, my last giveaway was at a 500. I gave away a t-shirt. I think we only had like 30 people in the contest. So it was like a 1 in 30 chance. I don't think the odds will be that good this time, but they're still going to be pretty good. And it's a pretty big prize. So be good to get involved and get your name in that drawing. But that's coming up. I'm very close. When I started the stream, I was at, I think, 960, something like that. I don't even know the number yet, but I'm only 30 or 40 away. So it's coming any day, any week now. Maybe I get a really big video out and I would already be over 1,000, but I'm just right there. So help me get there, and I'll be giving this away. Let's see what everybody else has to say to kind of close out the stream here. Mike Hawkert says, I'll be at the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo in August. The lineup is stacked with GRS Glenn. I know Glenn will be in Cleveland as well. CU Podcast, Scarlet Sprites, John Riggs, and many more. So that's a pretty cool turnout for Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, if you guys want to go to that one. Carlo says he plans on being there. I think he's talking about Cleveland. Mike Hawkhertz, or Rich Odello is talking about he's going to be at Long Island. Hopefully he'll be in Cleveland. The Buy Stuff TNT stand is so nice. Being able to convert from an arcade machine into a pinball table is so quickly is very nice. And you can add a professional back box. Also, Goofy's talking about the Defender Partycade. That thing, I don't even know if you can find it. Surprisingly enough, Goofyfoot, I found one used on Facebook Marketplace. It's in Maricopa, Arizona, really far from me, like an hour and a half drive. They were asking $300 for it. I offered them $150. They accepted. But I don't know what it is. I'm just not really wanting to pull the trigger. I offered them $150. It's probably a good deal. But even if I had bought that one, I don't want to give away a used product. I want to give away a brand new product. But if I find a brand new Defender Partycade between now and the giveaway, I will certainly offer that as an option. I just don't think that one will be available. Jason M says, it has to ship from Amazon directly to the winner. Save you shipping if you have Prime. Yep. So that's my goal, is to ship it directly to you. That way you have tracking and it's professionally, packaged and shipped to you, and just easier, quicker probably to get to you that way. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, we don't really have much left to discuss tonight, but I sure appreciate everyone who has joined the stream this evening. It has been a lot of fun. We've had some really good things developed this week as far as this Kith collaboration, which we'll be covering this week, as well as more at games discussion coming up. Probably some more, hopefully more photos and close-ups of this 4KP. As well as my 1,000 giveaway. This 1,000 giveaway is going to be huge, and we're right there. It could be any day, any week now, and we're going to be giving something away on this channel. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys who have watched. Definitely appreciate you, Papa Brad, out there for the super chat, and anyone else out there who has watched. Have a good rest of your Sunday evening. Good start to next week, and I'll see everyone in the next one. Bye-bye.